And the planet does belong to microbes. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the microbes. The only way to live in peace with them is harmony. Problem is, human beings are very good at creating disharmony, imbalance in nature. Every time you take antibiotics, you kill off a bunch of microbes and the balance is gone.
Hi, everyone, to another Beyond Labels podcast with your farmer, Joel Salatin, that would be me, and your favorite researcher, Dr. Sina McCullough. Today, we are really excited to have a very special guest on who I'm sure for many of you would be a familiar name, especially if you have ever heard of the Weston A. Price Foundation and the work of this nutritional density throughout the world. And her name is Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride. She's coming to us. We're doing this interview. We're here in the U.S. She's in Great Britain or the UK. They get kind of funny about how they differentiate England, UK, and Great Britain. So I'll let Dr. Natasha pull that out. But when she visited our farm several years ago, we just had such a delightful time. And of course, I've watched her work forever. We've had many customers here at the farm that are working with her GAPS diet. That's kind of her trade name, trademark contribution. And many people have seen gut health healed through her work. And so we can't be more happy with having her on and seeing where she's going right now with her research. So Sina, if you'll want to give a little bit of her bio for maybe the handful of folks who've never heard of Dr. Natasha here on our podcast, and then let's go for it.
It sounds great. So thank you, Joel. Her bio, as you can imagine, is quite extensive. You can read the full bio on her website, gaps.me, M-E. But just for brevity, Dr. Campbell-McBride is the creator of the GAPS concept and the GAPS diet. She graduated with honors as a medical doctor in 1984 in Russia. And in the following year, she gained postgraduate degrees in neurology and human nutrition. She's the author of several books, including Gut and Psychology Syndrome, Natural Treatment of Autism, ADHD, Dyslexia, Depression, and Schizophrenia, Vegetarianism Explained, Making an Informed Decision, Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, What Really is Heart Disease, and What Can We Do to Prevent and Even Reverse It, Gut and Physiology Syndrome, Natural Treatment for Allergies, Autoimmune Illness, Arthritis, Gut Problems, Fatigue, Hormonal Problems, Neurological Diseases, and more. She is also an organic regenerative farmer and a popular keynote speaker at many professional conferences worldwide. Dr. Campbell-McBride, welcome to Beyond Labels.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to see Joel and you, Dr. Sina. And it's I hope we have a large audience here as well.
Well, we love that you're here, and I'm sure most people have heard of the GAPS diet. But for those who haven't, let's start there. Can you explain to us, just in brevity, what is the GAPS diet and how did you create that protocol?
GAPS diet and GAPS concept has been around for more than 20 years now. I can't believe how time flies. And it has become a global phenomenon. It stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome and Gut and Physiology Syndrome. Both abbreviate to the same GAPS in the English language. And what we're talking about here, we're talking about a person who has abnormal microbial community living in their body. Many people now understand, and the modern science is very busy explaining this now to everybody, that your body is a microbial community. There are more microbes in you than there are human cells. And these microbes live everywhere. You've got microbes in your blood, in your heart, in your lungs, in your brain, in your joints, in your muscles, in your bones, everywhere. But the biggest community of microbes lives in your digestive system. And it is a highly organized microbial community, highly balanced and harmonious. Every microbe is present in there. There's fungi there, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, archaea, all kinds of little creatures. They all should be there because they all fulfill certain functions for us and they control each other. They don't allow each other to get out of control because any microbe in the world can cause trouble in your body. And the only way to live with microbes on this beautiful planet of ours, and the planet does belong to microbes. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the microbes. And the only way to live in peace with them is harmony, balance. Problem is, human beings are very good at creating disharmony, imbalance in nature. Every time you take antibiotics, you kill off a bunch of microbes. No antibiotic can kill everything. It only kills a narrow spectrum of particular microbes in your body, starting in your digestive system and then everywhere else in your body. And the balance is gone. These microbes used to control a whole spectrum of other microbes, and suddenly all those other microbes that are left are out of control. They overgrow very quickly, and microbes grow very fast. They produce trillions of babies per hour. So very quickly, you have imbalance, disharmony. And as a result, the microbes that used to be perfectly good for you as part of a balanced community become pathogenic. Any microbe has an ability to cause disease if it is out of balance with everything else. The trouble is today, people are getting antibiotics not only from the doctor, they are eating antibiotics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between. Because supermarkets are stocked by industrial agriculture, and everything you buy in the supermarket is full of antibiotic-like chemicals, because majority of agricultural chemicals are antibiotics in their nature. One of the most widely used today is called glyphosate. There's a wonderful book written about it. There's a lot of information about glyphosate. It is a broad-spectrum antibiotic, extremely damaging to every microbial community in nature. So majority, if probably 100% of the Western population in particular, and any other industrialized country in the world, have GAPS. From my point of view, they have abnormal microbial community living in their bodies. This microbial community in your gut is the most important part of you. It is the majority of the cells in your body. And then when you eat food, they feast on that food, they convert it into, they take a huge part in digesting that food appropriately. And if that microbial community is abnormal and turned pathogenic, turned rogue, they turn your food into millions of poisonous chemicals for you. At the same time, they damage the integrity of your gut wall, making it porous and leaky. Holes develop in your gut wall, literally. Your gut wall becomes like a sieve. So all these poisonous chemicals absorb into your bloodstream, into your lymph, get distributed around the body. But wherever they get you, they cause disease. If they get into your brain, they will cause mental illness. And if it happens in a small child, they will cause a learning disability. Autism, ADHD, attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity, dyslexia, dyspraxia, oppositional defiant disorder, and a whole list of other problems. If it happens in an adult, the adult will develop a mental illness. We have an absolute epidemic of mental illness in the Western world. And every year it's getting worse and worse. All of those people are GAPS. The real cause of the disorder is GAPS, abnormal microbial community in your body, damaged, leaky, porous gut wall. And food is poisoning you as a result. If these toxins get into any other organ in the body, into your lungs, into your heart, into your skin, joints, other organs, they will cause physical diseases. And these I've described in the book Gut and Physiology Syndrome. It's a large blue book, which is the latest. It came out in 2020. It's quite thick. And that one explains, where does autoimmunity come from? Every autoimmune disease is GAPS. Multiple sclerosis, lupus, Hashimoto, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, any chronic, any allergy, all allergies are GAPS. Asthma, eczema, hay fever, atrial fibrillation is GAPS. Every form of arthritis, any skin disease, psoriasis, eczema, chronic cystitis, nephropathy, neurological illnesses, hormonal abnormalities. We live in a world now with increasing hormonal abnormalities in people, particularly younger people. And that is shaking now the whole world. There are lots of young people with abnormal hormonal balance in their bodies. They are GAPsters, these people. This is GAPS. So that is what GAPS is. If you ask any microbiologist, What is the most powerful influence on the microbial community in nature? The answer immediately will be food. Food. You change the food supply to a microbial community in a petri dish, in a lab, or in any natural environment, everything will change within hours. Certain species of microbes will disappear, other species will appear out of nowhere, and the whole microbial community will change. Because your body is a microbial community, and the biggest part of it is in the digestive system, because that's where we place our food. Food is the most powerful medicine for you. Nothing can come close to food and its power on your health and on your disease. So whenever you get a chronic illness or an illness that is more acute, the first thing you need to think about is changing what you eat, changing your food supply. And that is what GAPS diet is designed for. It has been designed to rebalance your microbial community, to drive out all those pathogenic microbes, bring harmony back, bring balance back. At the same time, it heals and seals your gut wall. It closes all those holes in your gut wall, so food starts absorbing, digested. Because in a person with damaged gut wall, food doesn't have a chance to be digested properly before it absorbs. It absorbs undigested. Then the immune system finds these bits of food in your blood, looks at them and says, "You're not food, I don't recognize you," and attacks them. And that attack manifests itself as a food allergy or intolerance or a histamine reaction. And that can happen any moment for about 2 weeks. This situation can play out for 2 weeks, can be delayed, this reaction. And it can happen with any symptom at all. One person can get a panic attack, another person will have a low blood pressure or a high blood pressure, another person will have an atrial fibrillation or a fatigue or a skin rash or an asthma attack or something else. Any kind of symptom can be the result of this food intolerance, of undigested food getting into your body. So what we do with the GAPS diet, with the GAPS protocol, we build you a new shiny gut wall without any holes in it. So food starts digesting properly before it absorbs. And as a result, your allergies and intolerances disappear one by one. We have lots and lots of testimonies, and we have millions of people around the world who are using the GAPS nutritional protocol for healing from chronic disease. Every chronic disease responds to GAPS. A few years ago, I could not say this, I could not make this statement. Now I'm making this statement with absolute certainty, because there is no chronic disease that does not respond to this protocol. Your body is a microbial community. If you put the microbial community right, if you rebalance it, all kinds of chronic illnesses disappear, including cancer and including genetic conditions. I now have a plethora of young children and babies coming to me who were diagnosed with a genetic condition, where the doctors found some fault with some gene somewhere or other, and they say, well, that's it. There's nothing you can do with this situation. Well, we have epigenetics. We have a science of epigenetics, which tells us that genes are not our destiny, that we are all born with a full choice of genetics to develop cancer, to develop multiple sclerosis, to develop rheumatoid arthritis, autism, or anything you like. But it's the environment that you create inside your body and outside your body that chooses which genes are going to play out and which genes will sleep forever, never show their faces. So by changing your diet, by going on the GAPS diet, you are choosing your genetics. You're sending those genes that were causing this genetic disorder in your child to sleep forever, and you're waking up genes for good health. And as a result, symptoms disappear and the person is recovering. The person recovers. So there is no chronic disease that doesn't respond to GAPS protocol. And I encourage everybody who has any health issues, health problems, whether it's mental or physical, have a look in this direction.
Thank you for joining us on Beyond Labels. Our mission with this podcast is to make it accessible to everyone.
But we are behind a paywall because the issues we discuss are often subject to censorship. We've run into that, and so we have an extremely modest paywall to let us have the freedom to discuss the kind of issues we want to discuss in the way we want to discuss them. And you can become a member and enjoy all this content by clicking on the description box below. We look forward to having you join our family.